Well, hello and welcome to this midday market mood check with me, Nandita, Khemka, and my colleague Yatin Mota. Well, Yatin, a very eventful morning, I would say, because it has been an eventful weekend when it comes to the global landscape. The Nifty. Let's talk about the global, domestic markets first. The Nifty and Sensex managed to stage a rebound. In fact, the Nifty also went above that 17,500 mark. But then again, we took a U-turn and we've succumbed to selling pressure, and we are below that 17,400 mark even as we speak. Now, when you talk about the global developments, Silicon Valley and Startup Inc. will heave a sigh of relief because regulators have stepped in when it comes to the Silicon Valley Bank, and they have said that depositors will have access to all their deposits, even as another New York-based bank, Signature Bank, has announced shutdown. So both the banks will have access to their deposits. That's the word coming in from the US regulators. So aside of that, even when it comes to Indian banks, they are also in news today because, of course, IndusInd Bank is the top Nifty loser. We'll come to as to why it's among the top Nifty loser. But Tech Mahindra is one counter that is among the top gainers when it comes to the Nifty components, right? Because they have named rather Mohit Joshi as the next CEO who will be taking over from CP Gurnani. So that's one reason why that stock is rallying somewhere around 8%. Since we are talking about the tech space, let me also talk about the news that has just come in that HSBC will be acquiring the UK arm of Silicon Valley Bank. And that's the news that's just come in, and we will of course be watching out for all the developments when it comes to these global banks that have shuttered. But aside of that, Yatin, our Indian banks are also in focus. IndusInd Bank, Yes Bank. Take us through what's happening here.
So 2-3 things. First of all, obviously there are a lot of human resource changes which are happening. Nandita spoke about how Infosys president will join Tech Mahindra as the MD CEO, replacing CP Gurnani, which is due to retire in December 23. But IndusInd Bank also is in focus because the Reserve Bank of India has extended the tenure of Mr. Sumant, who is the CEO of the bank, by 2 years. Why the stock is down despite this news is the fact that the board had given approval for the tenure extension by 3 years. And brokerages do believe that the discomfort of RBI not allowing a 3-year extension is something that they are worried about. Today we had a whole host of brokerages which came out with a report highlighting this concern that instead of a 3-year extension, 2-year extension has been granted. So let's see how really does things shape up. In fact, a few brokerages have also downgraded the stock at the target price and all these things. And probably this news was known last week. That the extension is in the offing, but yes, it is something which reacted like a sell-on news. Yes Bank, that is the another banking stock which is in focus. Today the stock opened gap down by nearly 15%, recovered almost by 10-12%. Here the lock-in for the investors before the scheme of restructuring was announced by the government 3 years back, that lock-in is open, and because of that lock-in open up, the bank is facing some bit of initial pressure. Obviously, none of the shareholding banks, which is SBI, Kotak, IDFC First or HDFC Limited, they have not given a statement as to what they will be doing with their holding. Are they selling it before 31st March, or how will they really treat this holding in shares of Yes Bank? But yes, there is a prominent overhang that could impact the share performance moving forward, because most of these private sector banks would like to monetize some of their profits, because the share issued happened at 10 rupees and the stock price is at almost 15.5, 16 rupees. So the smart gains which banks have made with their investment in Yes Bank, probably they might look at profit taking, is what the stock market is right now suggesting. Yes, these are the two banks which are in focus.
Yeah, but reports were suggesting that SBI will be looking to pare stake, and even exchange traded funds would be looking at offloading some stake. Aside of that, Adani Group stocks, of course, in focus. Most of them are rallying in trade after the company has said that a lot of these prepaid loans have been repaid to the tune of $2 billion. So a lot of these Adani Enterprises, Adani Total Gas, Adani Transmission, they're all up in trade today. And aside of that, autos, of course, are among the side, as you mentioned, banks are also on the losing side. M&M, Tata Motors, are among the top Nifty losers. Let's talk about Mahindra CIE, because M&M is believed to have offloaded stake to the tune of 4.2% the counter at a discounted price. But as I was just looking at a flash, it said that 6.1% stake has exchanged hands when it comes to Mahindra CIE. Another block deal was Sona BLW. somewhere around 19% stake has exchanged hands, and reports were suggesting that Blackstone would be looking to sell.
It's not reports, it's a CNBC hours exclusive which I only broke.
All right, Yatin has broken his exclusive that
would be selling the entire 20.5%
stake, right?
And yes, that block has happened, and probably now with this, the promoter category in which Blackstone was holding stock, that is almost nil. Blackstone has completed the exit, and after the block deal, the stock has recovered by around 2%.
Okay.
Versus the block price, but yes, it's a muted market. We have below that Friday low, and 17,200 is the next support zone.
Right.
And clearly markets have been disappointing. The global saga and the global banking mayhem which is there in the US markets,
recovering from the Adani saga, and now we are looking at a global saga. So it has been a fairly volatile ride for the markets. And if you look at some of the broader market losers and gainers, we have of course, as I mentioned, Mahindra CIE, Shilpa Medicare, JBM Auto, Kalyan Jewellers. These are among the top losers on the Nifty 500 index. And among the top gainers, we have Sudarshan Chemicals, we have SCI, Aptus Value has once again edged back into the green, and we have all the Adani Group stocks that I mentioned that are gaining in today's session. But if you look at the broader markets, Nifty Mid Cap and Small Cap 100 indices were losing over 1%. So they were underperforming the benchmark indices. But I don't know how much the Nifty has fallen now that earlier when I checked it was 0.5% down. So we'll have to see whether we could manage to come out of these lows and maybe stage a rebound in the second half.
It looks tough actually, Nandita, because the advance decline ratio is almost 3:15. So for every 3 stocks gaining, 15, we have 15 declining. And yes, the global panic in equities is the reason why we are down in trade. If you look at the Asian indices also, most of them are down anywhere between 1 to 2%. So it's like a global sell-off, and India is no different.
We'll have to see how the Dow reopens today, because at least the Dow futures were in the green when I checked last. So we'll have to see how the US markets open later today. But after the jobs report that came out on Friday, the bets of a 0.5 percentage point rate hike have actually ebbed. They have receded a bit. Now markets are expecting a 25 basis point rate hike. So we will have to see, because the US inflation figures are also coming out tomorrow.
Sure.
So that will also set the tone for the quantum of the rate hike on in the later part of March. And of course, when you speak about domestic factors, we have the CPI figures for February that will be coming out later today. So we will be keeping an eye out on that as well, because that is one figure that RBI is watching out for closely. I think with that, we've summed up all the market action this afternoon. So tune in again at 3:30 p.m. when Yatin joins in with Santo and takes you through the market close. But for now, it's a goodbye from me and Yatin. And thanks for tuning in.